Next on KQED Newsroom, should police be able to examine the contents of cell phones without a warrant? A look at the changing face of San Francisco with Mayor Ed Lee. Plus, comedian Brian Copeland brings back his hit one-man show, Not a Genuine Black Man.
I don't talk ghetto. When I hear the word axe, I think of it as a noun.
Good evening and welcome to KQED Newsroom. I'm Thuy Vu. We begin tonight with something most of us would feel lost without: our cell phones. We use them not only to keep in touch with family and friends, but also for banking, storing photos, surfing the web, even checking our health records. They contain intimate details of our lives. Next week, the U.S. Supreme Court considers this question. After arresting someone, can police search that person's cell phone without a warrant? Scott Schaefer leads our discussion.
Searching cell phones can help police solve crimes, but privacy advocates say doing it without a warrant violates the Fourth Amendment, which prohibits unreasonable searches and seizures. Joining me to explore the debate are Professor Rory with UC Hastings College of Law and Michelle Quinn, San Jose Mercury News columnist. Well, folks, this is actually two cases before the Supreme Court next week. One of them is a California case. The San Diego police pulled over a guy, young man who was driving. He had a suspended license. He had expired tags. Rory Little, why did they have a need to look at his phone, and what did they find?
Well, it's almost standard procedure now for police to look at a phone if they can. They arrested him. There's a rule that says normally when you arrest somebody, you can look at whatever they're carrying. And it turned out that this guy who was stopped for a traffic violation was connected by video on his phone to a prior drive-by gang shooting. And so they sort of little by little got evidence from his phone to tie him to this shooting. And that's what he was ultimately prosecuted for.
And so that evidence was critical to his conviction. He's now serving 15 years to life.
15 years with a gang enhancement proved by video where there was evidence that he was a member of one gang and shouting encouragement to other gang members, things like that.
So if this gentleman had an address book on his seat, the police could have searched that, no problem. They searched the phone. Why is that different, Michelle?
Well, I'm just going to hold up my phone because we all have phones here. This is, according to civil libertarians, the equivalent of having your entire life data. It's bigger than just having like one address book or piece of paper or your a map on your the front of your seat. This is like having access to all your files, videos. It's
banking, health records,
right? Everything. And so, being able to search your phone is being able to search everything, where you've been, what you've searched on your phone, your location. And so what the argument is, and this is what the Supreme Court's going to hear on Tuesday, is the civil libertarians say this needs special protection. You can look for everything in a person's car when you arrest them or on their person, but there's something special about this.
So, Rory Little, searching the phone is like going into someone's house and looking through all their files and everything else.
Right. So the analogies really break down. The government says this is no different than your wallet, and if they arrest you, they can look through your wallet. And the defense says, no, this is your entire house. This is more than your house. Bank records and everything. There's also a First Amendment aspect to this. The defense says this is profoundly expressive because people make videos, people take selfies. So it's really intrusive.
Now the other case, the one on the East Coast, the guy had a flip phone, not a smartphone, a dumb phone. So is there a difference? Might the Supreme Court find, what's the difference in terms of civil liberties or the law?
Well, I don't know about the law, but the difference between a flip phone in 2007 and an iPhone today, or even 2009, is vast. I mean, kind of just the storage capability, the amount of video, the amount of documents, all your email that you can access, and the first district, was it the first Court of Appeal?
Circuit, yeah.
Agreed with the defendant and said, they can't search.
They can't do the search.
So I think that one thing that I think the court will be thinking about, and I'd like to know what you think, is what is reasonable for a police officer in this situation? Do they need to know, well, look, that cell phone has this
What's
much
the line?
storage.
Yeah, where's the
this
line?
has more, so I can't look at this one, but I can look at that one.
Well, and so here's the interesting point, right? Flip phone looks old-fashioned and antiquated today because we've got iPhones. 5 years from now, people are going to watch this tape and they're going to say, wow, look at that old-fashioned phone. We now have Google Glasses or Google contact lenses, and that carries everything. So the technology, the court has to be worried about not just today, but what is going to be true 5 years from now. That's the clash today. Old rules that you can search everything versus old rules that say you can't search somebody's house.
And the police say, look, if we hadn't searched that guy's phone right away, the passcode would have kicked in, it would have locked, we couldn't have gotten it, it would have been encrypted. There might have been an app on the phone that could, with one phone call, have deleted everything. We would have lost the evidence forever. What's the response to that?
Well, that's a great point. I mean, this is something that the government feels strongly about and says, because I think the defense says, just get a warrant. Then you can search all you want.
Hold
you can
on to it until you have a warrant.
You got forensics. You can take it to an Apple store, get the passcode. And the government says, we don't have time. We got to get to that phone and grab it. And one of the rationales for being able to grab things when you arrest a person is to stop the destruction of evidence. That's one of the main ones. Yeah. And they say, well, we have to have it. And the response is, from people who file briefs and the defense lawyers, is it's actually, there are things you can do. You can drop it into it. What's the name of that bag?
Faraday bag. Yeah.
Right. You drop it in a bag with tinfoil on it.
We all carry Faraday bags.
But technology is always changing. It's hard to future-proof any kind of a decision. So where do you draw the line in terms of what's a reasonable expectation for privacy?
Well, that's a really good question, and who should draw that line? The interesting thing is when California first said you can search a cell phone, the legislature immediately passed a law saying you've got to have a warrant to search an electronic device.
Which the governor vetoed.
Well, the governor vetoed it a week after the Supreme Court declined review in that case. So there you had, and why did they decline review? Because they thought the legislature was going to take care of it. Right. So who decides what's reasonable and where is the privacy line? I think you're going to see the court actually trying to move slowly here, and they're going to divide. I think you're going to see more than two opinions, certainly more than one. And they're going to say, we don't know what the rules should be in every case. We're going to draw some nuanced rules for these cases. We're not going to worry about Faraday bags because no one had one here. We're not going to worry about the wiping technology because there's no evidence anybody used wiping technology here.
But they could have.
They could have. Well, and the interesting thing is no one has any case to support them. So the defense doesn't have any case where the government has gone through somebody's cell phone and exposed horrible private details. Meanwhile, the government doesn't have any case where wiping actually happened right after they arrested somebody. So it's all based on sort of our fear of the future.
Yeah, what is Silicon Valley thinking? I mean, I don't even know how aware they are of this case, but it's obviously technology is at the heart of this question.
Well, then the Silicon Valley is in its own fight about the kill switch, in which is, so that your phone's stolen and can you just wipe it
into a
and what if it's stolen by the police when they arrest you?
Right.
You hit that kill switch,
right. You stop it. And so I think that, you probably saw or heard that there was a bill by the same senator, State Senator Mark Leno, that died this week, which would have required all phones in California to be made with a kill switch.
What is the court is, of course, Rory, has taken up technology issues before. Based on what they've done, how are they going to look at this, do you think?
Well, you may remember a couple of years ago they had a GPS case. Somebody put a tracking device on a car. The court divided into 4 different groups. These are not only 9 justices, 4 different groups. Even the people that agreed on the result could not agree on the rationale. And technology sort of scares them. There are justices on that court who probably do not know how a smartphone works, and other justices probably use their smartphone all the time. So Justice Scalia, interestingly enough, is siding with liberals on the search issues these days. Justice Breyer from San Francisco tends to now side with the government. So the politics have flipped a little bit.
Yeah.
So this case, I predict, will be slow and divided.
And we should expect a ruling, as always, by the end of June?
I'm expecting June 25th. That's my guess.
That's your prediction. Yeah. And then just quickly, if they rule in favor of the defendant, it goes back down to the trial court again? They have to the government decides whether to retry him?
Yes. Well, if they rule, yes. I mean, almost no matter who they rule for, it's going to go back down for further analysis.
All right. Rory Little, Michelle Quinn. Interesting. I'm sure we'll be talking more about this in the future. Thanks.
Thanks.
San Francisco Mayor Ed Lee has his work cut out for him, despite the city's economic recovery. This week, the high-tech boom in San Francisco kept rolling along as LinkedIn signed a lease for a new building. But with the boom comes growing pains. Many long-time and middle-income residents are feeling squeezed out, blaming the tech explosion for skyrocketing housing costs and escalating culture wars. In his recent State of the City address, Mayor Lee acknowledged the problem.
The rising cost of living, the financial squeeze on our city's working families and middle class, these are the fundamental challenges of our time.
In addition, City College of San Francisco is struggling to keep its accreditation to serve tens of thousands of students. And the recent corruption scandal involving State Senator Leland Yee and other community leaders has prompted questions about political ethics. Here now to discuss these issues and more is Mayor Ed Lee himself. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Thuy. It's great to be on here at KQED.
Well, first of all, some dramatic shift this week. The Warriors will now build their stadium in San Francisco's Mission Bay, dropping their plans for Piers 30 and 32. You had said at one point that the Piers 30-32 development was your, quote, legacy project. Do you still feel that way? Did you underestimate the intensity of the opposition to that?
Well, I've always excited from day one where the owners came over and said, you know, we're really interested in coming to San Francisco and what would be the place. And we were there with the chairs, with the owners and the players on Pier 30-32. But we understand as time went on that it was getting more and more expensive. Seismic retrofit of piers is extremely expensive. And yeah, the waterfront is valued in many ways by people that live there. And I think the Warriors took all of that in consideration. We were still right down to just a month ago, still ready to go at it. But I think we pivot. And we pivot with the right reasons. The Warriors still want to be here. They're investor confident in the city. And so I'm very happy to see them say, hey, not only do we have a place we can build, we own it now, so they're not leasing anymore, and I think their investors are probably that much happier.
So the folks who are behind Proposition B, which would require voter approval of any development that wants to exceed current height limits on the waterfront, they're hailing this move as a victory for them, the Warriors moving to Mission Bay. Where do you stand on Prop B?
Well, first of all, good for them. You know, I have stayed away from Prop B. I didn't want to get into another fight. I do see that, you know, ballot box development approvals is probably not the way to go. I did not want that to occur, but I understand why it did.
This is a city where the tech boom is in full swing, but the median home price is now approaching $1 million. A lot of people are feeling priced out. What are you doing to address this?
Well, first of all, Thuy, I want to put it in good perspective. It's a good thing that we've got this challenge in that there's investor confidence and people want to move here, businesses, and it's great for people who need jobs. That's still a number one priority. Now, having said that, I recognize the challenge, and the challenge is we have not built enough housing in the past. We kind of let that go as a priority, and now we're going to suffer for it. And so I want to build a lot of the housing that we need. I think we can definitely build a lot more affordable housing and work on the other things that make the city affordable. And it's not just about building. We also want to protect the existing housing stock, and that's why I'm working with Senator Leno to reform the Ellis Act to make sure that we're not having these companies come in and build a business around evicting long-term tenants. I'm a big rent control supporter for that. I'm going to make sure 30,000 housing units get built and a third of them permanently affordable, and that's going to be a huge contribution to this landscape of challenge.
But even so, there are many who feel the essence of San Francisco, what makes it special and unique, is being lost with all these changes going on. How do you balance that, the business growth with people feeling pushed out?
Well, but for the growth that's occurring, we wouldn't have the revenues that we were seeking just literally 3 years ago to pay for important social programs that everybody values. Federal government is cutting HIV and AIDS research. There's a lot of issues around the homeless. We're not seeing a whole lot of federal dollars going to that, so we had to make it up ourselves. And as a result, I've got to have that increased revenue. I've got to have a revenue that will pay for a housing trust fund at $1.5 billion to help for affordable housing. this wouldn't happen without a robust economy.
Let's talk about City College, the largest public college in California, serving nearly 80,000 students, now facing losing its accreditation. Why? Some people feel you haven't taken an aggressive enough stand to protect City College.
Oh, I've been very much interested in making sure that our city college is here. I've said that over and over again. It's about how you do it. And certainly I'm well aware there's lawsuits, there's protests around this. I also want to make sure that the troubles that they had financially are taken care of, because this is what started it. They were not going to be sustainable financially. They were, I think, on the cliff, and we pulled them back. I think we did a lot of good things, particularly in the last year. And now we have a basis to suggest to the Accreditation Commission, we're really close to being there, and you've got to recognize all the things that we've done. And in that recognition, I know that we've done enough to save City College.
Let me ask you real quickly about Leland Yee, the corruption scandal involving State Senator Leland Yee. Your reaction to that, and are there certain reforms you would like to see come out of that?
Well, first of all, I'm one of the first people to say I'm shocked. A veteran, public office holder can engage himself in the kinds of allegations that the FBI has uncovered. This is shocking to all of us. Having said that, I think that the way we feel is that it's not so much new reform, it's getting back to the basics of public office. We have to honor our public and their trust. We got to rebuild it, by the way, and that means more and more decisions that reflect this trust. All
right, let's end on a bit of good news. Paul McCartney will be playing at Candlestick, coming back to the venue where the Beatles played their last concert in 1966.
Thuy, I'm about to ask you what your favorite Beatles song is as well, but...
Love Me Do.
Oh, great, great.
And yours?
Oh, gosh, She Loves Me, or... These days, it's about Hard Day's Night, because I've been working. But
yeah.
I really want to thank Sir Paul McCartney. He's such a class act, and he could have chose any place around the world. He chose San Francisco for good reason.
Yes. All right. Mayor Ed Lee, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Thuy.
Well, comedian and talk show host Brian Copeland knows how it feels to be an outsider. He grew up in San Leandro during the 1970s and was the only African-American student in his high school class of 350. As a kid, he weathered physical abuse from his father, discrimination by local police, and efforts by a racist landlord to evict his family from their apartment. He shaped those experiences into a one-man show, Not a Genuine Black Man. The 10th anniversary production opens this week at Berkeley Rep. Copeland sat down recently with Scott Schaefer, but first a clip from KQED's archives of Not a Genuine Black Man in 2005.
I don't even know what that means. If you're talking about pigment, yes, clearly I am black. But if you're talking about some cultural delineation, I don't know. I don't talk ghetto. When I hear the word axe, I think of it as a noun. It's not a verb. I'm gonna go ask my mother. What are you, Lizzie Borden? Get out of here.
Brian Copeland, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Is it bad form to laugh at my own jokes?
No, not at all, not at all. We're all laughing. So the show begins with an anonymous letter from someone who accuses you of not being black enough. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering, when you boil that sentiment down, what do you find?
What you find is that there are people in every culture who believe that they are the police. And they're the ones who get to determine whether or not you are really an African American or really a Latino. I did a thing with Mike Wallace a few years back, and he asked me what the show was about. I told him, and he laughed, and he said, you know, every time I do a story that's even the least bit critical of Israel, I get all these letters saying, you're not a real Jew.
Yeah.
A genuine Jew would never criticize Israel or under any circumstances.
But the letter, that sentiment could come from an African American, it could come from a white person.
Yes, it could.
Or anyone else. So is it different depending on who it comes from?
I think it is. I do hear it more, or have heard it in my life more, from African Americans, and that letter came from an African American. Although from white people you do get, well, it's not like you're black. It's not like, you know, what do you mean by that? Well, you know, excuse me, the first question at the YouTube debate in 2008 when Barack Obama was running was, are you black enough?
Yeah.
And he said, well, I can't get a cab.
There's a riff in the show that I want to play a clip from where you talk about racial authenticity. Mm-hmm. I want to play that, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
Okay.
What is it that makes the racial authenticity of a successful black male in this society suspect? What is it? Because, you know, it really pisses me off when I think about it. Because you go to the street corners of East Oakland, Bayview, Hunters Point, and you'll see all these guys selling crack. And all these guys with 5 babies by 5 different women, none of whom they're supporting, and nobody's saying they're not real black men.
Brian Copeland, that's a very provocative question. What is it about a success that makes authenticity suspect? What do you make of that?
I just think it's bizarre. It's the crab in the barrel mentality. That in some way, if you have transcended your origins, you are in some way selling out. And I just found that fascinating that they will point, for their folks who will point at a Bill Cosby, for example, and say that, you know, Bill Cosby's not really black because of what it is he's done and achieved and accomplished. However, you know, if Bill Cosby were standing on a street corner selling crack, they might say other things about him, but they'd never say he's not black. And I just find that to be bizarre. You know, what is it about success that is somehow a betrayal of your culture? I don't get it.
Yeah, this show is told, much of it through the eyes of an 8-year-old boy, you, living in San Leandro back in the early 70s, and it has some of the most difficult themes: domestic violence, your father knocking your mother against the wall, your attempted suicide, and yet it's very much interwoven with all that is humor. Talk about that juxtaposition.
Well, when I first started to write this show, I knew the rhythms I wanted. I wanted the rhythms that Norman Lear had in those great sitcoms from the 70s. Because as a kid, my mother used to sit us we'd sit on the floor, she'd be on the couch, and as a family, we'd watch All in the Family and Maude. And remember how, like, All in the Family was really funny, and then Edith got raped. And this is a sitcom. It's like, where did this come from? And then it was really funny again. And that's how life is. And so I watched the first 2 seasons of All in the Family, and that's how I came up with this. You know, 1 minute you're laughing, then you're kicked in the gut. And then you're laughing, then you're kicked in the gut. I dig a great big hole, and right before I come to the other side of the earth, I say something funny, and I pull you out of it.
Is that humor a way to bring people in so that they can really think about the nuances of prejudice and the other things you're talking about?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's the spoonful of sugar, is what it is that I like to say.
Yeah, it makes it a little more palatable.
Yes, because otherwise it would just be too painful for a lot of people to digest.
Yeah. Brian, I know you've got 3 kids. Have they seen the show? I would guess they have. What do they think about it? How do they feel about the sort of the family's dirty laundry, so to speak, being aired?
When the show opened, let's see, my kids were 15 and 13, and the younger one was 9. And in fact, I learned how to portray an 8-year-old boy because he was 8 when I was writing the show, and I watched him, you know, and how he talked and how he moved. It was a long time before I let him see it. You know, the show ran 7 years because he was just too young. The older kids, I gave them a heads up, and I had to tell them about, you know, certain things. And there is a scene where I'm really, really depressed, and I talk about this experience I had in a car with carbon monoxide they didn't know about, and I kind of had to warn them. And it was interesting that they came out of the show saying, you know, wow, Dad, you know, we have like a deeper, greater understanding of you because now we know what you dealt with and where you came from.
Yeah. And then just finally, you've been doing the show for 10 years. How much have things changed in San Leandro and elsewhere?
Well, what's fascinating is according to the latest census, San Leandro is one of the most diverse cities in America. In America. When you look at the percentage of African Americans and Asians and Latinos and so forth in the country, San Leandro mirrors that. So it's fascinating,
A lot of things
and it's
have
great.
changed. Yeah. All right. Well, the show again is called Not a Genuine Black Man. It's playing at Berkeley Repertory Theater through May. Brian Copeland, thanks so much for coming in.
Oh, thanks for having me. Pleasure.
And joining me now for a look at other stories we're watching is Scott Schaefer. Hi, Scott.
Hi, Thuy.
Well, 4 major tech companies settled a class action lawsuit this week, and basically employees alleged that Apple, Google, and others had sort of an anti-poaching agreement to prevent them from stealing each other's employees. What do we know about this settlement?
Well, the parties themselves didn't reveal anything about it, but Reuters has reported that the companies agreed to pay out some $324 million to the 64,000 employees that were part of this class action lawsuit. Now, if it had gone to trial, they were expecting to ask for as much as $3 billion. So they got a lot less than they might have gotten, but they got the certainty of some kind of a settlement, and so they don't have to go to trial, which could have dragged on, and who knows what happens when you put it before a jury.
What concerns, besides the fact that there might have been a long trial, what concerns did the tech companies Apple, Google, Intel have that made them want to settle?
Well, you know, once you go to trial and you have discovery and everyone's rooting through all your files and your emails, there's some embarrassing things that come out. There was an email that surfaced from Steve Jobs back, I think, in 2005 to Sergey Brin at Google, basically warning them, don't you dare go after these employees or it's going to be war. When that kind of thing starts to come out, some of the, luster comes off of these companies, these innovative tech companies that have such great reputations in some circles. And so I think they want to just try to avoid that and make this all go away.
And what impact do you think this will have on Silicon Valley companies?
Well, the employees in question are the really high-end, really high-demand, the programmers and those folks. And so their salaries now are going to probably go up because there's potentially going to be bidding wars to get them to come work for one company or another. And of course, headhunters and lawyers will benefit as well.
Well, let's move on to state politics, because despite the rain we're getting this week, Governor Brown today issued a drought executive order. What does it do?
Well, a lot of things. It basically reiterates that this is a big problem. It also waives environmental regulations, which is a big deal for farmers when there's water transfers. And of course, it concerns environmentalists anytime you talk about waiving the California Environmental Quality Act. But the governor kind of felt, obviously, that was important to get water where it needs to go without a lot of red tape.
Well, also the governor is concerned about drought and climate change. He spoke with KQED this week. What did he say about that?
He actually had a lot to say about climate change and the environment. One of the things we asked him about was the Keystone Pipeline, which President Obama is delaying a decision on. Here's what he had to say about that.
For the most part, California is the leader. So whatever Obama ends up doing on Keystone, I am committed to having California lead the rest of the nation and the world in reducing the use of gasoline, oil, and all the other petroleum products, methane, and all the rest of it, so we don't destroy the fabric of life that we all depend on.
And of course, he had much more to say about a host of other issues, and we'll have more from his interview next week. Thank you, Scott.
You bet. Thank you.
And next week, as I mentioned, we will have much more from our in-depth interview with Governor Brown. We talked to him about his long-term vision for California and why he wants to seek an unprecedented fourth term as governor. For all of KQED's news coverage, please go to kqednews.org.
I'm Scott Schaefer. Thanks for joining us.
And I'm Thuy Vu. Have a good night.